Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. A little bit over 3 years ago, it was announced that Warner Bros. Discovery would be developing a brand new sequel series to the Flintstones titled Bedrock. Apparently, Elizabeth Banks was being tied to the project to not only be the voice of Pebbles, but to also be the executive producer of the series. And if you guys recall, the synopsis of this show was going to be that it was about Fred Flintstone, who's on the verge of retirement as the Bronze Age comes into play, while Pebbles is in her 20s trying to find her own way in the world. And this was an idea that I thought would be fantastic within the world of the Flintstones, given that it's showing both Fred and Pebbles trying to adapt to their new lives. Fred trying to adapt to retirement when all he really knew for so many years was working, while on the other hand, Pebbles is trying to adapt to the real world. Now she's entering the workforce when her whole life all she knew was being a kid and going to school. I thought this was a fantastic series from a conceptual standpoint, just because this is something that a lot of people in the real world deal with, and why not see how the Flintstones adapt to the world just like we have to adapt to the world in our own daily lives. If we fast forward to last year, it was announced that the pilot was officially ordered for the series. After not hearing about it for 2 years, this was kind of odd to be hearing that they're just ordering the pilot now. And now we fast forward to July 17th of this year, and word comes out that this series has been canceled and will not be moving forward at Fox. And I kind of have some mixed feelings about it. Number one, as I said before, this was a series that I was looking forward to. I personally absolutely love the Flintstones. It's probably my favorite Hanna-Barbera franchise that they've ever made outside of Scooby-Doo. Those two are hand in hand for me, but I think the Flintstones is just such a fantastic series that seeing that world adapted into a more modern age, if you will, obviously going into the Bronze Age, and seeing these characters aged up and how they would react and how they've changed through the years would be something that I would sign up for. But on the other hand, part of me was concerned what they would do with that world, because the Flintstones, as I said before, it's one of the greatest series to ever come out of Hanna-Barbera, and I was a little bit concerned if they would try to water that world down and make it worse, right? Because that's what happens with a lot of these franchises when they get revisited. They're very highly regarded, and all of a sudden somebody new comes in, they want to put their own spin on the Flintstones, they want to put their own stamp on that IP, and then they end up turning into something that it's not, and it ends up being a whole mess. This has happened all throughout history. For example, more recently with Star Wars, we have so many different creators coming into Star Wars that they're all trying to make their mark on the franchise instead of doing what's best for the property. That's what my fear was with this series titled Bedrock that would serve as the sequel series to the Flintstones. Obviously, those concerns that I had, or the hope that I had for it, will never be answered, because apparently this show is not happening anymore. They did say that they are open to revisiting the project at some time in the future, but more likely than not, this is something that's never going to see the light of day, because this is the same phrasing they tend to use when shows are canceled from a classic IP. Like, if you guys remember that live action Powerpuff Girls series, it had its pilot filmed. Apparently it was terrible, and the executives said, no, we can't have this happen, we need to rework it. And then they were quote unquote reworking it, and then word breaks out that the show was canceled. And I feel like, Bedrock, it's just something that we're never going to see. The Flintstones in this iteration of Bedrock is never going to happen. But what I do want to talk about is, will the Flintstones be revisited at some point in the not too distant future by Warner Bros. Discovery? And quite frankly, I feel like it should be, because as I said before, the Flintstones, in my opinion, is one of the best shows to come out of Hanna-Barbera from back in the day. Obviously, Scooby-Doo is a show that came out of that era as well, came out of that studio, and Scooby-Doo is something that sees countless iterations after iteration after iteration. And I feel like with the Flintstones and just a bunch of other Hanna-Barbera properties, I've said this in prior videos before, but Cartoon Network, Warner Bros. Discovery, they don't really do anything with these characters. Like, yes, I know we have Jellystone. I know that's a show that, is kind of like your crossover, if you will, with all these different Hanna-Barbera classics, but they don't do anything other than that with these properties. And I feel like the Flintstone definitely deserves to have a revisit, and I would imagine that at some point in the future they will revisit it in some capacity. Obviously, we know that this was a thing they were exploring in Bedrock. They were exploring this sort of sequel series, and I definitely like the conceptualization of it. Obviously, it must have failed in execution because the series was never picked up for a full season order. As to why that's the case, as to what happened in this pilot, we have no idea. That's probably something that's never going to come out, but I definitely do think that the Flintstones is a franchise that deserves to be revisited at some point. Maybe one day in the future we see Adult Swim or Max pick up a brand new show in the world of the Flintstones. I kind of wonder if that were to happen, what avenue would they take it down? Because as I said before, I think the idea of Fred being on the verge of retirement and Pebbles entering the workforce for the first time is a fantastic fantastic idea for them to go down in this series, but I kind of wonder, given that that didn't work this time, if they ever did revisit the Flintstones, would they go do another idea like that, or would they do something brand new? And if they were to do something brand new, what would they do? What angle would they take with the Flintstones? But for now, that's something that we're not really going to have to worry about for the foreseeable future, because Bedrock, which was going to serve as the sequel series to the Flintstone, has been canceled, and it will not be moving forward at Fox. And like I said before, I'm a little bit disappointed to be hearing this, but at the same time, I'm a little bit relieved, just because this show is taking a while to cook in the oven, meaning that some things were not going well behind the scenes. So the fact that they decided to just pull the plug on the project entirely is probably for the best, given that they were having some development issues along the way. Anyways, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about the fact that Bedrock has officially been canceled over at Fox, and the Flintstones will not be getting any sort of sequel series, at least not in the near future? If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.